We're watching a video that's very fitting for the occasion. We're watching how to practice without your instrument. And I obviously don't have my instrument. I'm in the middle of nowhere in a balcony seeing thousands of feet out into the beyond with a gigantic lake. I'm not flexing. I'm just stating the fact. But yeah, so we're gonna let Adam Neely teach us how to practice without our instruments.
Bass teacher loved to tell the story of the time that he was at the doctor's office with a copy of the Bach cello suites. He found that he had a little bit of time to kill, so he mentally practiced a large excerpt from one of the movements of the cello suites, to the point where when he got home, he was able to actually play that excerpt on his instrument, having never physically played it before in his life. I have a little bit of time to kill right now. I'm about to take a train from DC to New York, and I'm gonna see if I can't recreate that. I'm gonna see if I can't learn an excerpt from the Bach cello suites. Okay, so I'm gonna be taking a stab at the A section of the third movement of the second cello suite in D minor, the Courante. I had heard this movement before, but I had never actually played it on my bass. So I'll be engaged in a form of what's called mental practice. Just the same way as you can have an inner monologue without speaking the words that you are thinking out loud, you can have a sort of musical inner monologue, where you practice music without playing it out loud. And this can actually be really effective. So there was this study out of Harvard that was conducted on 3 sets of amateur pianists. The first set of pianists were told not to practice for a week. The second set of pianists were told to practice a series of daily exercises for a week. And the third set of pianists were told to simply think about practicing those exercises for the same amount of time as the second group during the course of a week. The study found that the first group, the group that didn't practice, didn't get any better.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah.
Duh.
But interestingly, it found very little difference.
I was just about to say, like obviously you don't practice, you don't get better. Please, somebody take this part of the video and send it to all my students, or I send it to every single pianist that exists. Actually, I might just clip that specific portion and put it on TikTok because some of you need to hear it. Some of you need to hear it.
Difference in aptitude between the second group, the group that actually practiced, and the third group, the group that simply thought about practicing. And it's the thought that counts. fMRI studies on musicians later found that many of the same areas of the motor cortex that are engaged in physical practice are also engaged in mental practice. Now, to help strengthen these connections, I have a trick for you. We're gonna take our left hand and we're gonna place it on our right forearm as like a stand-in for our bass guitar. This works also if you play a stringed instrument, or also, God help you, if you're a guitarist. You can use your forearm to practice scales and patterns. You can work out fingerings to different songs that you're learning. You could do this on like your legs if you're a piano player, or a leg if you're a saxophone player. Honestly, the body part doesn't really matter. All that matters is just getting your fingers on a physical surface to imitate the feeling of playing an actual instrument. If you watch somebody like Bobby McFerrin perform, you often see him moving his fingers along to the notes that he's singing. Apparently, from what I've heard, these are rough approximations of clarinet fingering, although I've also seen him imitate guitar as well. By the way, if you only know Bobby McFerrin as the guy who sang Don't Worry, Be Happy, you are really missing out. He is an amazing singer and artist and musician. You definitely need to check out Bobby McFerrin. Links are in the description. Now, a real benefit of this whole body finger trick thing comes down to its ability to assist in audiation. Now, to audiate something is to hear something in your mind's ear, the same way that you might see something in your mind's eye.
Okay, that's our process everything that just happened because Adam Neely is way smarter than we are. That's that pause. That's what that means. So audiation, basically hearing things. But what I'm hearing here, it makes a lot of sense, realistically. You know, you just think about things, and when you think about them, it's like you're doing them because you're thinking about doing them. And it's the thought that counts. I just said exactly what he said. But realistically, I do that a lot, and that's how I progressed really far in drums over like a year. I would be in class and I would be thinking about a new rhythm I'm trying to tackle every single week, sometimes even less than a week. I would just be thinking about a certain rhythm or think about a certain riff in or a certain fill inside of a song that I'm trying to learn. Like I did that about a week ago with Everlong. Everlong has some really hard drum fills, but I've been working on it consistently, and I've seen the improvement from it. Even though I maybe practice drums maybe an hour to 2 hours every week, but when I'm anywhere else I am. I'm literally just there tapping out that rhythm, listening to the song, and it's the thought. I listen to the song and I like imagine how it looks if I was on the drum, and that just makes it makes the process smoother, but it also makes the process seem more realistic, and it gives me more ability to actually do what needs to be done. So realistically, if you want something bad enough, it's not really about the legitimate practice. It's about your thought process while practicing, and your thought process even outside of practice. You get me? So it's like, if I really want to learn a drum part, I'm going to be thinking about that drum part all week. And that's why it's going to be easier for me to learn, versus if I don't really care about a drum part, I'm not going to think about it at all. And I might practice it, but the practice is not going to take me as far as if I were to think about it before and really audiate. I really audiate it. Yeah, I threw the word in there.
Just the same way that I could visualize what green looks like without having to see something green, I can audiate a song without actually having to hear it. Chances are you could probably audiate this song without having me play it for you. And don't worry, Universal.
I'm actually working on that song right now on the drums. I'm like practicing it. So as soon as I saw it, I read the title and it played in my head instantly. And I won't play it either. But if you don't know the song, all I have to say is Shrek, and you know the song. You know the song.
Music group. I won't play it. I humbly submit to your techno-capitalist dystopia. Please do not flag this video for me merely talking about the phenomenology of somebody experiencing your intellectual property. That would really be depressing. Anyway, a good way to start practicing this is to play a song that you know quite well already on your forearm. Because you played the song many times before, your brain will associate specific finger movements with specific sounds. And so if you pay close enough attention, it will help fill in that sonic information in your mind's ear. Now, I know what a minor triad sounds like. I've played it many times before on my instrument. Lo and behold, the Courant in the cello suite in D minor starts on a descending D minor triad. I know what the feeling is and the sound is of the note D descending down to an A and then down to an F. I know it's a perfect fourth followed by a descending major third, and I know many different ways of how to play it on my instrument. I can figure out which way I like best on my forearm, and then I can go throughout the movement, note by note, confident in how I know the layout of my bass. When I'm doing this, I'm focused in on the tactile sensations that I know from playing bass, which inform the auditory sensations. Loud, bright, and vivid sounds in your head are very much based on this sort of cross-modal and cross-sensory memory. This memory directly impacts the efficacy of mental practice. Studies have shown that professionals get more out of mental practice than amateurs because of their sensory memory associated with the practice of their instrument.
Yeah.
Now, this doesn't mean that amateurs can't mentally practice. No, it just means that it's going to be a lot harder. You're going to need to be methodical about it. And unfortunately, that can be fairly fatiguing.
Okay, that's kind of what I said before, and that's exactly why I said I mentally practice with drums a lot more than I mentally practice with piano, because drums is kind of one of those instruments where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 maybe sounds that you have to memorize, and really most of them are kind of the same. So it's pretty easy for you to mentally memorize that you need to play something here, or play something there, or play something here, or play something there, and it's easier versus knowing all the 12 tones on a piano. That's a lot more. It takes a lot higher of a skill level, and even I'm not there to get it perfectly, but I do have an idea based off like what I've played already.
Kind of tired doing it. It really takes a lot out of you. There's only so much focus that you have to give over the course of a 3-hour train ride. The challenge in staying focused comes about because there is no auditory feedback here. Essentially a reward for your efforts, a reward for moving your fingers across the fingerboard, or in this case, the forearm board. So we're going to create our own auditory feedback that informs our music making by singing. Yes, singing on a train. Don't worry, we're going to be discreet with this. We're actually just going to hum to ourselves. Now, in order to properly hum, what we're going to do is sing the syllable ah, but close our mouths and then focus the vibration on our lips for some physical feedback like this. Now, if you'd like, you can place your hand on your cheek for additional point of contact for the vibration for even more physical feedback. Now, it can still be hard to hear the pitch of your humming, especially when you're in a loud public place. So in order to hear the pitch better, what we're going to do is do that thing that singers do. When you plug your ears like this, you're pressing down on the flap of skin called the tragus that covers the ear canal. This blocks out any unwanted sound, but also, interestingly, you can still hear yourself talk, and you can still hear yourself sing. I asked an expert, my mom, who is a voice teacher, why this might be.
When you do that, it enables you to hear how sound travels through your body because it's traveling through bone. And sound traveling through bone is different than sound traveling through air. So you've got something like 29 or 30 bones in your head. Your head is basically this massive conductor of sound. You even have a floater bone in your neck called the hyoid bone that's between the tongue and the voice box. And it all conducts sound quite a bit differently than through air.
So we have the means of creating audio in our heads to go along with finger movements, not unlike what Bobby McFerrin ends up doing. Now, if you're unsure of the pitch and are having trouble audiating it, you can reference it on a piano app and then hum what you hear, confident that you will be able to hear it through the bones of your face. Now, I'm not a singer, but I think singing is the key here to practicing effectively without your instrument.
Singers either have an innate sense or they learn how to track that sound as it moves through the body, which gives them a kinesthetic sense of what is correct, what is going to produce what they want to produce.
Thanks, Ma.
All right. Love you.
Love
Talk
you.
soon.
Bye. Okay. I thought I learned a fair amount. Let's see how I did.
That is really interesting, though. I have been getting into vocal lessons, and I do notice that, like, the thing that the vocal people do, where they press it, and you really do hear it. When I try to practice my things, a lot of my practice is actually done outside of the house with vocals and piano and drums. A lot of the practice is outside of the house. So with singing, I do try to like hum whenever I listen to the songs that I'm gonna sing. So I think this actually helps so much. It's better when you kind of do both of them, but like it feels like the sound I'm singing is like traveling straight from my mouth to my ear. It's like taking headphones and plugging it into your voice box. That's what it feels like. Also, I think focusing to do that's actually genuinely really hard. Maybe I just have like what's it called, low attention span, like I'm just a little brain rot baby, but that's hard to like look at a sheet of music and not be able to hear it and just practice it. Like a lot of people have struggled practicing when they do get to hear the sounds. Like imagine that, you know. What you can do to like make it more rewarding is to actually listen to the song once or twice, or get it into one of those virtual softwares where you can play it back and play it as you practice it, or play it then practice it, and that'll stimulate the auditory effects and still allow you to get some real genuine practice in. And also you could practice the rhythms more accurately, especially if you're not professional and you're more amateur and you actually kind of need those sounds to help you understand what's really going on. I think that's super helpful, and I think it would probably be effective. I'm kind of talking out my butt, but
Okay, so I think I actually got this. I think I also actually have it memorized too, or at least the little bit that I practiced. Let's see how it goes. This is take one, recording, and yeah, here we go. I've never played this before. Let me try that again. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is really cool. Honestly, maybe it is just really putting your mind to it. For 3 hours, I do have a 3 hour drive to come here and to go back. So maybe that's the goal for the 3 hours. We're just gonna take a piece that I haven't learned yet, and I'm just gonna really put that in. I think it's a lot harder to do with the piano because of the fact that it's two coordinating hands, but it kind of is here too. But it's kind of it feels different in a sense. Like I feel like I could mentally learn one hand really well, but when it comes to mentally syncing them, I would always be off because I rely more heavily on the sounds associated between the two in order to connect them rather than the actual ability of each separate hand, if you get what I mean. Um but I was also wondering, do you think any of this has to do with his tonal memory, like his ability to know pitches, to perceive the pitches? Do you think that obviously it helped, but do you think that had like an overarching effect on what he's doing? Like I want somebody who not sucks at their instrument, but someone who's like close to tone deaf to try the same thing to see if it has the same effect, because it could be even like subliminal, like his hands haven't memorized because his ears haven't memorized, and his hands know what his ears hear, if you get what I mean. That makes sense, right? That makes sense. I think it makes sense. Okay.
I knew exactly where my fingers were supposed to be going. It was a little strange because I had never physically moved in that way before, but because I had been practicing audiating the whole piece, I knew what it was supposed to sound like quite well. So that was a very strange experience, let me tell you, but oh man, that's quite exhilarating, to be honest. Cool. I guess I just need to learn the rest of the movement now instead of just like the first couple of measures. Wow, okay. So do you ever wonder why, if you play the bass, you can pick up any bass and potentially make music with it? It doesn't seem like it's that strange of a concept, but think about it. You don't play a bass, you play bass. All of bass. You can make music on any bass that was ever made and any bass that ever will be made. You play the idea of bass. When we practice, what we're doing is we're mapping meanings on the amorphous, I guess, platonic ideal of the instrument to specific personal fingerings and sounds and concepts. This is why mental practice is so effective, and why past a certain stage in your musicianship, you don't actually need a physical instrument, although it can certainly expedite the process. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, there is no spoon.
It is not the spoon that bends, it is only yourself.
All practice takes place inside your head, whether or not you're sitting there on a train or sitting there with an instrument. Now, this is a YouTube vlog that has had a little bit of a storytelling element to it, so you might just have to take my word for it that you actually witnessed me playing an excerpt from the second Bach cello suite from memory, having never played it before. But if anything, I want to impress upon you this. You don't need your instrument to practice. You can practice wherever you find yourself. All you need is focus and a vivid auditory imagination. The rest will take care of itself.
I don't know if you guys can hear that vile noise. There's no way you can't. But as I was saying, that's kind of exactly what I was thinking before. Like, when you practice is not practice. Practice is not a physical thing. It's a mental thing. And that's how learning works. Learning is a mental thing. If you ever took psychology, learning is obviously a mental thing. So in order for you to learn anything, it has to be in your head, and you have to think about it, and you have to mentally audiate. You have to audiate it. And if you don't, then it just elongates the learning process, because you're learning something based off your actual physical ability instead of your mental ability to do the physical things, if you get what I mean. Again, this loops back to why drums is such just a hear and play type of instrument. Like there's so many rhythms in drums where I understand the rhythm, I know what it looks like, I know what it's supposed to sound like, and I can't play it until I hear it played on the drums in the specific way that it's supposed to be played. And then as soon as I hear it, I play it the exact same way as if I knew it the whole time. But it's just the mental ability to really audiate it. And when you're able to do that without an actual reference, that's what makes a great musician able to do everything a musician can do without the need for an instrument or anything like that. Anyways, this was a great video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for enjoying it with me. I have no idea whether I've been out of focus this whole time. Anyways, thank you. And enjoy your day, you know? And remember to practice. Even if you don't have your instrument, always practice. No excuses.